third time's the charm, I believe. I did not hit record the second time, and Nettle started squeaking the first time, so hopefully everything goes well. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, and today I am once again not in the closet. Briar is having a job interview at this moment, and I decided it would be best if I wasn't talking to myself in the closet for 15 minutes. I did get some more video of the fish tanks now that they have settled down a bit more. Everyone seems to be doing well. We've only had one casualty, a celestial pearl danio, who just decided she did not want to go on. So she was disposed of properly, of course. Sadly, we are not naming our little guys because there are so many of them. Though we did name our killifish, both of them. We have a male and female. And because they're called killifish, I've named our jaunty boy Killian, and our ghost white girl is Wendy. But I'm not going to be talking about fish today. I will be putting some video at the end, so you can just have some fun visual ASMR over some copyright-free music, hopefully. Fingers crossed I can do it. But we will leave that for the end. Don't be worried, I'm not going to be rambling for 30 minutes. Now, today's topic, I wasn't sure what it was going to be, but in the middle of that second recording that you're never going to get to hear because I didn't hit the record button, I realized I kind of wanted to talk about how I work as an artist, because I have a pretty uncommon situation where I can't see things in my mind's eye. It's called aphantasia. And from what I understand, it is more common within families. Both my sister and I have it. But essentially what it means is if you stop and think about an apple, most people can see the apple. They can see the color. They might be able to pick it up and look it over. Some people might have it a little blurrier. Some people might have it a little clearer. Me, I have nothing. I tend to think in text. But that doesn't mean that I see text, I just hear it. Everything in my brain is a black void with noise or feelings. Briar does not have it, and it can be hilarious when we bring up all of this mind's eye stuff because they start overthinking it and go a little meta, and if they think about it too long, they start having a bit of an anxiety attack. So we don't bring it up very often for their sake. So because of this, I also can't see things in proportion. I actually really struggle with visualizing how big something might be, which ends up with me making a lot of mock-ups, physical, doing a lot of ruler measurements, doing things at a teeny tiny scale in my sketchbook, freaking out because I don't know how big the text is going to be, so then I have to get on a computer and mock it up, but then I don't know how big it is in relation to my other stuff, so I have to print it out, and it becomes a whole thing. And my professors have always accused me of overworking ideas, especially in my sketchbook, and it took until my very last semester of undergrad for me to be like, oh, this is actually a thing. This, all of those metaphors about the mind's eye and all of that stuff, that's real for most people. It's just not for me. And actually, part of all of this is why I decided not to pursue a career in graphic design. I remember I had a lot of trouble with like the little pop-up displays. These are displays that you can see at an end cap, or like when you're checking out, they'll hold the candy bars, or if there's a new drink, they'll have like a little display there. Some of them can be very big, some of them can be very small. Well, I was in a project where we were tasked with redesigning some sort of drink. I picked the only type of beer I like, but I can't remember the name for the life of me. It's like Lieberman or something. It's very fruity. I love it. If I had some now, I'd probably get drunk off of it immediately, but I haven't seen it in years. So I was tasked with redesigning it. I loved my labels. I loved all of that. I printed them off to make sure everything was okay, but the actual box display, I could not wrap my head around it. And especially in the class that I was in, it was more of like a theoretical. You did not actually present the final mock-up in class. You just presented the digital designs. And it just twisted with my head. I kind of hated it. Another reason I probably overwork ideas in the sketchbook is I started my graphic design degree down in Auburn, and they have a very strict program. Like, let me describe it. And mind you, I came into this after 2 years of pre-med. So it's a 4-year degree that you're not even guaranteed to get into. You start off with writing basically a letter of intent. Why do you want into the graphic design program? Cool. Luckily for me, I applied during the spring semester, so I didn't have as much competition. We still had 20 students for our pre-graphic design classes, where we then spent a year taking very basic courses, a drawing course that ended up fucking with all of my art classes afterwards because it was a GDES, or a graphic design course. So anytime I wanted to take a fine arts class, like drawing 2 or painting, and they required drawing 1 as a prerequisite, well, my GDES did count towards it, but the system didn't recognize it, so they would kick me out, and I'd have to call the office and be like, hey, I'm a graphic design student. I've taken a drawing course. Can I please take painting? And they would let me in. But that was an every semester thing. I hope they fixed it by now. It's been years. So if they haven't fixed that flaw, I feel so bad for all the graphic and industrial design students. So after a year of these basic courses, you then send a portfolio in for review. And they look at your grades. They look specifically at your art history grades, because you have to take 3 courses of art history. You have to take 2 graphic design courses, and you have to take the graphic design drawing class, if I'm remembering all this correctly. Then you pull together your portfolio. It's 15 items. They look it over. They look over your grades, and they're like, okay, 15 of you can come in. I made the cut. I was very happy about this, of course, but then you're still not clear. Wow, I really fucked up trying to say that. You're still not free and clear. You are still under probation for another semester, where you are taking a graphic design history course, easily my second favorite history course ever. You are also supposed to take your actual first intro to the Adobe Illustrator and Design Suite. I hate Illustrator with a passion. And you can take other art courses, and for me, it was great. I made it through. I got through all of that. I turned in my portfolio at the end of the semester. They're like, your grades are great, just don't fall below a B or we're kicking you out. And I made it through another semester before my money ran out and all this stuff happened. So I ended up dropping out of the program and going up to Illinois for a year before I finished my degree. And that was when I switched to a completely different graphic design course that was not nearly as intense. And because of that, I approached my sketchbook in a vastly different way than the kids did in graphic design or in painting, where I would create 20 to 30 thumbnails, and the other ones were doing 5 because they were told to. But I don't know. So that's like the practical aspect of how I approach making my work. I also have a notebook that I dedicate just to writing down my ideas. I tend to lose this notebook, so I just got myself a really nice new one, and I posted it in a story on my Instagram at queer.quill. So I'm super excited about that, because I can finally take some of these random notes off of my phone. My favorite one so far was a flower with teeth, vagina dentata thing, which is going to be me essentially taking inspiration from some of Georgia O'Keeffe's work. Basically, I saw a cartoon that had a flower with teeth on it, and it's like, I want to do that, but as a screen print and lino cut. And that's another thing. This is actually good review for people who are wanting to make art in general, not just as a working artist. The best thing to do is to surround yourself with art. I have been curating my business Instagram to show me a feed of mostly local artists, mostly printmakers or painters, because I love painting and I love other stuff like that. But I'm also including digital art, I'm including comics, I'm including anything I think will give me inspiration, and it's giving me a lot. There's a person who draws a lot of really cool, bizarre looking angels, like with the wings and the face and the too many eyes. Love that. No longer a Christian, still love that shit though. I eat it up. So that's one good thing. Another thing is taking in lots of media, or so it's kind of along the same line, watching TV shows, listening to music. I have a playlist that is specifically my printmaking playlist because I listen to it on repeat. It's very hard for a song to get on there, but when it does not leave, because those are the songs that keeps my brain clicking. Now, when you're doing like an edition of 100, you need to have that click all the way until you get done cleaning, so that the person coming in after you doesn't have to clean up your mess. Very important when you share a workspace. Let's see, another good thing to do that isn't necessarily tied into consuming media, modern media, is looking into art history or any type of history. For me, specifically, contemporary arts and issues was a class that helped me a lot. It's an art history class. It went through, God, I don't even remember. It's where I learned about screen printing's history, or serigraphy if you want to be fancy about it. I don't. It's screen printing. But it went through a lot. It kind of skipped all the ancient history stuff that I've heard 1,000 times before, but it went through like Dadaism or pop art and some of the postmodern stuff. We also would research modern artists who are currently working. I got to re-familiarize myself with Takashi Murakami, who is kind of the father of super flat. It's an art movement out of Japan where they create these incredibly flat 2D images, and there is a sort of consumer culture thing going into it, all of this fun stuff. Murakami's a fascinating character. I love watching the costumes he makes, and he's been part of designing some pretty cool stuff for premier labels, like I don't think Gucci, but along the lines of Gucci. It's actually funny that I don't really care for Andy Warhol, but I do adore Murakami. I think it's mostly because he's coming at it from the Japan doesn't really have a fine arts culture the same way that the West does. So he wanted to reach out to the West, build up his label, and then bring it back to Japan. And I just find that to be admirable, actually, to be able to see the flaws in your own culture and try and find a way to fix it by using other culture to help you along the way. I don't know where he is on these things currently. I haven't been paying attention much to him lately, but at the time when I was first learning about him, all of this was a really big deal to me. So looking at other artists, looking at other art works, looking at the reason why different art movements started can also be a really good resource. And then, of course, finding issues that you are passionate about. Like, all art is political. It doesn't matter if you're not intending it to be. It doesn't matter if it's just a little Japanese-inspired anime girl whose face takes up the entire sheet of paper and the body is like the size of your eraser. You still chose to use a particular art style. You created it in this particular way. In some form, you can see a political message out of it. That you don't have to, but you can. So one of the things I feel to be very inspiring is my gender identity and my sexual identity as an asexual. It's been a long-standing desire of mine to take the original Asexual Manifesto from like 1972 and rework it into modern culture and distribute it as a zine. You can also work with other people. So Briar and I are currently doing Inktober. We're doing vastly different pieces because I intend on next month turning mine into a bunch of lino cuts and printing them out. And they're actually using pen and ink. They have my pen and ink set that I have handy from doing Inktober a couple years ago. They asked if I could help make them make a zine. We also have plans on making comics in the future once things in our life settle down a bit. And it's going to be a combination of either I'm coming up with the story or they are, and I'm helping lay out the panels because I'm more familiar with how like typography and the book flow goes, and they are going to do most of the art, and I'm going to help with the backgrounds and the coloring. And then they're going to do the shading because we both have our strong suits, and mine is not digital art. I draw very simplistically. The thumbnails that you see are my art done rather quickly because, like I said, these are day of productions, but you will see Briar's art in some future projects. I'm very excited. Hopefully getting the ball rolling next week. I'll be talking about it in my little vlogs next week. But I think I'm going to cut it here. I know I rambled a bit at the beginning, so I apologize because I really got the ball rolling after a minute. And I'm going to cut myself while I'm ahead. I also keep getting distracted by the fish tank. This is why I need to record in the closet because I have the attention span of Doug from Up. Every 2 seconds it's just squirrel, fish, dog. But okay, that's going to be it from me today. I hope y'all stay hydrated. I've got my water waiting for me to get back to work. And you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye-bye.